right, everybody, welcome back to episode 41. In today's episode, we are going to, well, we got to rearrange the garage a little bit. If you remember, I put the blur over on the other side of the garage so I could have access to everything to where it wasn't sitting sideways in the garage. Well, today, it's freezing. I'm cold. I have a little, resistance heater, which kills me on my power bill, but I kind of took apart my kerosene heater to fix it, and I broke it while fixing it, so there's that. But I'm okay because I'm a man and I'm gonna do man things, and men don't cry when it's cold. Well, maybe a little. We're gonna get the blur moved back over to the gantry so we can go ahead and remove the drivetrain. We're gonna drop the entire cradle back out, move it off to the side. I'm gonna be able to get in there and make it a lot easier on myself. And I think I'm gonna bend up some tubing. I've got a tubing bender somewhere around here, which might make my life a little bit easier, and it won't cost Brian any more money for like braided lines and fittings and things like that, even though I think I have quite a few fittings and hose left over. So we'll see how that pans out. But we're gonna reroute the fuel lines. We are gonna go ahead and mock up the wiring harness on the engine one final time. We've already tested it at GARS. Continuity, everything's where it's supposed to be, and we're going to go ahead and get that laid on the engine. If we're happy where that's at, then we're going to go ahead and loom up the harness. I do still have to replace the crank sensor. The engine's a K20A, so it has a K20 crank sensor. The wiring harness is from an RSX Type S, and I guess it uses a different crank sensor because I know for sure that my pigtail for the sensor is just slightly off on fitting the crank sensor that's on there now. It's just ever so slightly different. And Mike's at Car's Garage gave me a different sensor, but it was literally just another one of what I already had. So I need the opposite, which I still didn't even know what sensor's in there. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why, if you want to do this swap, buy a completely stock unmolested engine. Like I did, I got the TSX K24 completely stock, hadn't been dicked around with by anybody, and I don't run into these problems. Brian went with a different line of thinking and picked up a K20 that had been swapped into an Integra. So it's bitten us in the ass a few times, but we're going to persevere. We're going to get it done. You know the old phrase, you got to piss with the dick you've got? Well, I don't know if that applies really here, but we're going to make it work. I just got to find out what sensor that actually requires. If you know if they're different, and I don't mean just the connection, but if they run like a different range or something, please let me know in the comment section. But I believe it's just the connector itself is slightly different, which doesn't really make sense why Honda would do that. Therefore, that's why my reasoning is there must be something about the sensor in the way it reads or its range that's different from what I have now. I've got to get serpentine belt. I believe we need one that was a ½ inch longer, but we'll check that when we get the engine out. Obviously, again, it's easier to get the serpentine belt on. What else are we going to do today? Car moved up, transmission out, wiring harness. I think I've got that about covered. We'll figure it out as we go along, right? All right, let's get to work. All right, well, it's a different day, clearly. Just couldn't make things happen yesterday. So, what we left off yesterday is we're going to get the blur moved, so let's get to work. Alright, now all we gotta do is remove the strut tower bolts. Alright, final check just to make sure nothing's gonna get hung up when we drop the drivetrain, so let's get that out. Alright, well there we go. The drivetrain is back out of the car. Now all we gotta do is separate the trans from the engine, swap out the throw-up bearing, lay the wiring harness over it, get to the fuel lines, and man, I'm tired. Yeah, so Mom always gets worried when I do this by myself. You know, I've dropped the drivetrains out of these Fieros. If I've done it once, I've done it 1,000 times by myself at that, so no big deal. You just gotta pay attention, be aware of your surroundings, use proper safety equipment, and well, you should be okay, hopefully. Still got all my fingers and toes, so I must be doing something right, yeah?